This episode was brought to you by Google Cloud, a partner that needs no introduction. What you might not have heard of, though, is that Google offers a Google for Startups cloud program where they give you access to startup experts, technical training, business support, and cover your Google Cloud costs up to $200,000 for 2 years, or even $350,000 if you're an AI startup. Scale your startup faster and smarter with Google Cloud. Head over to goo.gle/Swisspreneur.
Leadership is a skill set. It's a different skill set. You can't learn that at university or just from reading books. You have to train and exercise as I do exercise the piano, you know. It's thousands and thousands of hours of painful training to become good at something.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Francisco, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure and a huge honor to have you as a guest today.
Thank you for having me.
You are the former CEO and also the founder at Avaloq, but also a serial board member, investor, and also entrepreneur. You build and build and build. And we're really excited to talk to you today. We first want to tackle the Avaloq story a little bit, and we want to go all the way back to your personal background. You studied computer science at ETH. Back then, what was it like to have the ambition of starting your own company in Switzerland?
Not really. I was just interested in the subject matter, and I had a focus on artificial intelligence 30 years ago. So not now with the ChatGPT hype, but 30 years before, working with Marvin Minsky and other pioneers in the topic. And we even constructed the first large neural networks. At ETH. It was a fantastic topic, but I remember that Marvin Minsky told us, you have too many people wishing to know about artificial intelligence and so few people that go into common sense.
Yeah. And you also have a background. Your family came from Spain to Switzerland. If you look at the US, many successful companies have been started by people with a migrant background. Is this also sort of the driver for your entrepreneurial force and motivation?
I think it kind of shapes you, being born in a family of risk takers, because migrants are people who have the guts and dare to leave everything behind, go into unknown territory, unknown land. Probably they even miss the funds, the language, the network where they go to, and they rebuild their lives. And that DNA, let's say, is for sure one of the success factors for entrepreneurs.
It's really like an entrepreneur. You have to leave your comfort zone, and you're also very ambitious.
Constantly, right? You have to leave the comfort zone, and you get the kick out of it, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the beginnings of Avaloq. Avaloq was basically the origins come back to the BZ Bank. It was basically part of the BZ Bank in '85. You joined Avaloq in the 2000s. How was the company doing there? What was sort of your initial start at Avaloq?
I joined BZ Bank because at the time you had the companies applying at students, not students applying at companies. So the whole thing was turned upside down because computer science was so new. I think it was the second year of computer science at ETH City. So we were really at the forefront. And I'm a curious person. As a scientist, you need to be a curious person. And my curiosity brought me together with BZ because they had only 20 people in staff making the same kind of revenues as UBS at the Swiss Stock Exchange. I said, how does that work? That 20 people can outperform 20,000 people? So I was curious enough to talk to Martin Ebner. He was also a seasoned entrepreneur, and that brought me into BZ Bank. And at the time, BZ Informatik was just a sister company of BZ Bank, more or less doing computer support for the bank, which was definitely not enough for my ambitions. Yeah.
And then eventually there was a management buyout. The employees acquired 100% of the share capital.
Yeah.
Was that also fueled by your ambition to say, hey, there's potential, now we want to go really big and make it an own company?
We were rebels at the time. So we were 3 people, 3 employees in BZ Informatik, and we thought our boss doesn't do a good job. So we went to Martin Ebner and told him, we know how to do better.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, you can do it. If you think you can do it better, you become an entrepreneur, you buy shares, and you take over.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us 48 hours to think about that. So we had some serious talks together and we did it. And that's how we became entrepreneurs. And then we completely reshaped the company, the purpose of the company. And we knew that banks need modern computer systems to digitalize all the processes within the bank. And BZ Bank itself was in need. So we started programming what later became Avaloq.
Fantastic. And Avaloq, you have different products. You have Engage, Wealth, Core, Insight. For someone who doesn't exactly know what Avaloq did or still does, what are sort of the key products that you offer to your clients?
You know, Avaloq really is an universal banking platform with hundreds of thousands of functions. Mm-hmm. But to pitch this, it's difficult to pitch everything which Avaloq can do for a bank, which is too much. So you package that into so-called products to be able to sell part of the platform at, let's say, a cheaper pricing to help the bank here and there, to have a foot in the door of the bank, and then you can expand, ultimately landing to cover almost all the processes of a bank with a full comprehensive platform. So it came later that we said it's easier to sell the platform by selling pieces of the platform as products. This is what we actually do.
And who are your customers? I guess financial institutions from all over the world.
We ended up serving 170 banks globally in 27 or more countries. Amongst them, you have the large Tier 1 banks like Barclays, HSBC, RBS, the Westpac Group in Australia, DBS in Singapore, Deutsche Bank, all over the place. So large wealth managers of Tier 1 banks, so the wealth management arms of Tier 1 banks, as well as the high-end boutiques like Pictet, Vontobel, Safra Sarasin, and the likes.
Basically the who is who of the financial sector.
Yes, and I was also proud to get the Swiss Central Bank as one of our earliest customers, because this gave us, of course, credibility.
Absolutely. And along that journey, this very impressive journey, you of course experienced tremendous growth. You built a multi-billion-dollar company. And to manage this growth, there are multiple levers that you have to pull. One of them is to get more feet on the ground. You acquired a German company. What role did acquisitions play in your growth plan?
Actually, not much. This is something I would do probably a bit different today. Yeah. But we were very much focused on organic growth. So writing our own software, selling ourselves, implementing ourselves. So it was more based on organic growth. And we did some tactical, smaller acquisitions. We bought a risk management company called Almafin here in Switzerland. We bought a small IT boutique in Germany, but it was more satellites, not really big acquisitions.
In an interview.
But I hope that now, together with NEC, we can, start doing bolder moves.
Right. In an interview, you also mentioned that buying success is a bad idea. So this organic growth really is to say, if there's a strategic acquisition with a product, that could work, but not to acquire more revenue, basically. Is that sort of...
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a believer in buying revenue. No. It has to make sense, and you have to see very crisp and clear how does that help your customer? How does it create additional value at your customer? Otherwise, if you just have an aggressive acquisition strategy, you end up being a portfolio of companies which are not really integrated. Then you can just have a fund, just
of course, yeah.
buying assets. But that was not our idea. Our idea is to create world-class products and integrate them to get the frictions out of, a fragmented IT landscape within a bank, and that creates tremendous value at the customer.
Yeah. And to execute that, you of course also need the right team, the right people. What were some of the key hires along the growth journey where you say, hey, these roles were essential to really go to the next level as a company?
This is a constant topic. If you are a brain company like Avaloq, it's all about the talents. It's the people that make it happen. Of course, you need the vision, you need great leadership, which is probably the success factor number one, leadership. And many managers don't know what true leadership is. But besides that is having the talents inspired, intrinsically motivated, with a great collaboration culture. So the search for talents is a constant topic for the leaders. And I remember a couple of people which were crucial for the company, like, for example, my compagnon, Ronald Stresser. I couldn't have done it without him. He couldn't have done it without me. So it's always a teamwork. But I don't want to, do name dropping, but what I can say is that usually the square root of the number of staff you have make the difference.
Yeah.
So if you have, 3,000 people, you can't have 3,000 geniuses. So usually about the square root of the number of people you have really drive success. And the others associate with them and go with them. And if the culture is right, you can outperform the competitors.
Absolutely. And leadership comes probably in right there. You said leadership is so important. It's crucial to really build a successful company at the scale that you did. First of all, what does leadership mean to you?
It's a manifold, complex topic. But what is important to understand is that leadership is a skill set. It's a different skill set. And you can't learn that at university or just from reading books. You have to train and exercise as I do exercise the piano, It's thousands and thousands of hours of painful training to become good at something. And it's the same for leadership. And very often, people get promoted because they are experts and they are good at something. And then they get promoted. And when you get promoted and you suddenly find yourself in a position to lead people, it's a different thing. So you are suddenly not anymore responsible of revenues or of code or of anything. You are responsible of people. And to lead people, they are responsible now for code, for processes, for sales, or whatever. You are just responsible for making them shine, perform, be efficient, be inspired. And that's a different job. And very often you get promoted and you have no clue what leadership means. So I have a special belief. I believe in servant leadership. So if I'm your leader, if I'm your boss, you don't work for me, I work for you. So I turn that upside down. I think that leadership is a service to the led. But not many people, think this way about leadership.
You want to help them to get the obstacles out of the way that they can do the best job possible.
Not only this, also give feedback and develop people. I think the most important topic of leadership is developing talents. Because intelligent people want to grow.
Of course.
And if you are just doing the same job again and again, year over year, and you don't develop, you check out. Your motivation goes down and you eventually find a job where you can learn again and develop again.
I assume with your growth, that also got sort of exponentially more difficult to do because you suddenly had multiple thousands of employees that you had to manage and to develop, to lead. How did you keep up with that? How did you put in systems in place that you were still able to develop people at that scale?
Yeah, it was a learning curve for myself. You know, it's something you learn while doing. Of course, I was also reading a lot of literature, psychology, reading Glucksberg and other leadership scientists or psychological scientists, and learning from other leaders. And then you have to find your way and your style. It's like a musician that, you know, he can, you know, be influenced by different other styles and music genres, but at the end you have to find your style and be authentic in your style. That's important, but it was a big learning, because you said correctly, directly, at any point in time, you just lead 7 people. Even as a CEO, as boss of 3,000 people, you just lead your executive board. These are your direct reports. It's your team. You are directly responsible of these 7 people, but then you have to create systems how to cascade that down, that what you're learning is how to lead these 7. Each and every one of these 7 does with their 7, and so forth and so on. So you have to start shaping leadership as you shape a complex system, by building systems, frameworks, repeatable methods that you can teach 3,000 people how to lead.
Absolutely. That sounds fascinating, but also challenging at the same time.
It is big fun as well.
Yeah. And how did you spend your time when you were growing like that? Did your time to spend on hiring, on, you know, your people development, did that time significantly increase compared to the early days?
Yes, of course. At the beginning, as a startup, you work in the field of expertise. We were programming 13 hours a day, and versus the end of my career, I was leading people 13 hours a day. But it's not only about leading people. Entrepreneurship is a very complex topic. You have to take care about products, about marketing, about customers, about investor relations, about structures, organization, strategy, culture. I mean, it's really manifold. It's highly complex.
Roughly in percentage, how much time did you spend on your people towards the, you know, the later stage of Avaloq? Was it more like
probably 30%?
Okay.
Of the time is about people.
Nice. And of course, your role as CEO and founder also shifted. We heard in the terms of people development. In what other aspect has your role shifted from the early days to the later stage of the company? What did you start doing? What did you stop doing?
You know, I like to build stuff since I'm a child. I was fond of Lego.
Nice.
The nice thing about Lego is that you could build almost at the speed you could think. So if you can think it, if you have it in your mind, if you can think it, you can build it. And I was always fond of doing the thinking part, but also doing the execution part, which is crucial for successful enterprises, that you are as fond of execution as you have of ideation and strategy. Of course, as a chairman of multiple companies, you get a higher lever, so you can do much more, and you have to, you know, reduce your doing, get more into thinking and leadership. So today my topics are organizational development, strategy, culture, customers, and financing. So this is what you end up doing to be able to do it multiple times and not just for one company.
But is that also a bit less rewarding for someone like you who really likes to build and be hands-on?
Yeah. You never had the thrill you had when you are coding, because it's very much like sports. You run 100 meters and you get the result and the reward immediately. You win or you don't win.
Exactly.
Being entrepreneur, I think it's like a sport, because you compete and you're in it to win it. But as a CEO or as a chairman, you have a business idea, and it takes years to get the result to know whether you made it or not. and the coding was, we couldn't stop. We were programming until 3 at night, and it was painful that you had to go for some hours of sleep.
You didn't want to go,
you didn't want to stop because
course.
you could you wanted to finish your procedure of code or whatever to see if it works, to get that immediate feedback, that immediate response. Yes, it's there, it's going, it's working. You make a strategy, you wait for 4 years until you find out whether it was wrong or bad, and you have to shift all the time. So it's a slower reward, but a big reward.
Sure. Yeah. You also have much more leverage because you can now do that multiple times, as you said.
Yeah.
But this magic moment of shipping your code or acquiring customers and getting that instant feedback, it's a magic moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You then also got private equity on board at Avaloq. You sold a stake of your shares. I think you told me you got about 120 million Swiss francs from the private equity investor. And then you also sort of reduced a bit your role to being a board member and basically started to build other companies and invest in other companies. First of all, why was that the right decision for you? Because that's a big sum, but also you sort of lose a bit of stake.
Actually, it wasn't a decision. It was a need, because some of our people got in the age of 40, 45. They wanted to buy houses, build a family. Some guys thought it was getting too big, the Avaloq thing. And, the wife wanted him to, step out or reduce or whatever. So there were people with need for cash. So we needed a liquidity event. I didn't want to stop. I was still very fond of the growth story of Avaloq, and I had still big ambitions for Avaloq. But I still used that liquidity event of bringing private equity in. I sold a small stake, I think 4 or 5%, I don't remember the exact number, which gave me some liquidity to start building new things. Because, at a certain moment I thought Avaloq is not enough. Even if you have still a growth trajectory in front of you, I wanted to also build new things, because I'm a curious person walking through life with open senses, eyes, ears, and then you once in a while see a great problem. And I said to other journalists, I tend to fall in love with great problems. And if I find a great solution to the problem, the next step is I want to build it.
Of course.
Because I'm as much I want to see it becoming a reality as I love to strategize. So this liquidity gave me the opportunity to become from a one unicorn builder to a unicorn breeder, hopefully.
Amazing. You talked before about the importance of developing people. So, talented, smart people don't get bored by doing the same things over and over again. It seems you also had to develop yourself a bit, that Avaloq was not enough and you wanted something new.
Yeah. I mean, to be entrepreneur means you have to constantly reinvent yourself, as you have to reinvent constantly the company. Because if you run a company that can survive 30 years and is still existing and beyond, if you want to build a sustainable, long-lasting business, you cannot start with something and think you can do the same for 30, 50 years or more. You have to reinvent yourself. If you look at Apple, they started building computers. Then they suddenly went into writing operating systems. Then they started going to consumer electronics with iPods and stuff like that. And later on with iTunes and App Store, they are becoming now a global service company. So you have to reinvent yourself in average every 4 to 5 years. And as you reinvent the businesses, you also have to reinvent yourself. From a programmer to a team leader to eventually CEO, from local to global. So it's a constant going out of comfort zone, going to new strategies, new businesses, new geographies, new cultures. It's a constant out of the comfort zone, getting into the comfort zone, out of the comfort zone again.
To someone who doesn't experience this, to always push yourself and continue developing. That sounds very, very exhausting, what you just described. How do you stay energetic? Is it really the problems that give you the energy that you want to solve them and see them in reality? Or what keeps you going that you don't say, hey, this is actually negative. I have to push so hard. It's really exhausting. I just need a break. What keeps you going, basically?
So I never took a break, even after gymnasium. I didn't go, after mid-school, I didn't go like others for traveling and made a break. No, I went straight to the military service, straight to the ETH, straight to finding a company, from that company to next companies. Probably because I'm never satisfied of myself. I read once in a cookie box from Cambly, which is a nice cookie brand of Swiss cookies. They wrote, probably our customers are happy about us because we will never be.
Yeah.
And that summarizes a little bit, even if you have sometimes a couple of seconds where you can look back to be proud of you, this moment lasts a couple of seconds and then you are back to, oh, I'm still not happy. There is still more way in front of me than behind me. So this is, I don't know if this is just an attitude or a character. And I also think that not every person was born with the same energy, let's say.
Yeah.
Like not everybody is born with 2.20 meters of height to play basketball. Not everybody was born with the same energy. Yeah. I think that I'm a very energetic person and I have to go somewhere with that energy. Yeah. And my passion, how I satisfy that is by building stuff.
Mm-hmm. I love the Cambly saying. I grew up right next to it and used to work there in my summer job. So it brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, nice.
And, with the money that you got, you could have also just said, hey, I retire, I enjoy life, spend time with my family. But that was never really an option for you, was it?
No, because I'm enjoying what I do.
Yeah.
So for me, the goal is the path.
Yeah.
The path of building. Once it's built, it loses attractiveness.
On to the next.
Exactly. So my assistant said, Francisco, you are the guy that when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you buy yourself the next tunnel.
That's good.
So that's what I am enjoying. So as long as you do what you enjoy, you don't feel neither exhausted nor you have the wish to stop. I would be unhappy just spending money and doing what?
Of course.
So having a purpose in life, having clear goals is what drives you.
Yeah, I love that.
So the money is irrelevant, or the money is, gives you some freedom to start even new things or do even more.
Yeah.
Gives you some independence, some entrepreneurial freedom, but money per se is not enjoyable. It's what you do which is enjoyable.
That's why you get up in the morning.
Yeah, of course.
And we are recording this interview here at one of your current focus projects, Racing Unleashed. That's also, you hear the racing simulators in the background.
Yes.
How do you make decisions where you want to go in with your money, but also your time? What is interesting for you? Do you have like a decision framework, or is it more like a gut feeling or a combination?
No, as I said, you have to travel the world, talking to people, listening to the needs and the wants from people. And then I fall in love with a problem or with a big need where I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. Many people, I love large, complex problems where I can add value to many, many people. Then I get fascinated by the problem. One company tries to cure uncurable diseases like oncological diseases, neurological diseases with big data and artificial intelligence. Here, we try to satisfy the wish for people for sports, for competition, the passion for cars. We have 1.9 billion people driving cars today. If just 1% want to make that a sport, there's a certain portion of people that love to go into soccer, a certain portion of the population is fond of tennis, and a certain portion of the people like car racing. Look at the hype right now of Formula One and all other racing formats. this is here to stay. I mean, it's a 3,000-year-old sport. The quadrigas with 4 horsepower means 4 horses in front of the car racing in circles in the Roman Empire. I mean, it's there since 3,000 years or more, and it doesn't stop. And it's being now modernized, digitalized, but the essence that you want to move faster than your feet can do and compete in that type of sports is in our DNA ultimately.
And when you get involved in a project, in a new project, how do you do that? Do you mainly invest a big sum as an investor? Do you want to become chairman? Do you get operationally involved for a certain time? How does your modus of getting involved work?
Yeah, in early years, you are the typical startup getting out of university, having an idea, a wish to solve a problem. You have a solution, and then you put all your family's and friends' money, and then you go for the first Series A, asking for $500,000. And, the exits and the money I got from former successes have given me the freedom to say, you know what, when I start a company, I take the first 20 to 50 million myself. The riskier phase I cover myself. And once we have a proven business model, proven products, customers, revenues, then you go for the first round, which is then, of course, much a larger ticket. So again, I use the money to accelerate my new ventures.
And when you get in, how does the setup with the team work? You also need a team always to make the dream work, as they say, right?
Yes.
Do you just let them run the business and you are sort of more on the strategic support? Because with all the projects you have, it's probably difficult to split your time across all of them.
No, I like to be very active. I would say something like an executive chairman, let's say like this. And I work with the company, putting all in, not just my money, but my money, my time, my brain, my network,
everything,
my skills, my experience, and help them in, de-risking the company, helping them build good structures, organizational structures, culture, strategy, also in the selection of people, inspiring people. So as much as I can do as a chairman, I do. And going back to the ideas, not all the ideas was my own idea. So in Avaloq, of course, I was one of the main drivers of the vision, the strategy, and the idea. But sometimes, like in Crowdhouse, I was sitting in the jury of a startup pitch, very, very early stage. And I was fond of the idea, so I joined the team very early, and I became part of the team. Now I own the majority of the company. But, sometimes I fall in love with an idea of somebody else. And sometimes it's my own idea and just I fell in love with a problem to solve.
Yeah. Is it just a love for the problem that makes your go or no-go decision, or what other aspects do you consider there to say, yes, I want in on this?
The driver is, creating value. That means changing the planet for a better somewhere. The driver is having impact. And of course, the remuneration is then that the public sees the value you have created, and that makes you proud of yourself for a moment.
Of course.
and then the caravan moves on.
Yeah. And something that also moved on, if we slide back to the Avaloq story, is in 2019, Reuters reported that you had IPO plans, but we all know that then in 2020, things took a different turn and you actually got acquired by NEC for $2.2 billion. First of all, why did you decide to go for the acquisition and not the IPO?
So first of all, IPO is for me not the target. Never was. No. Because an IPO usually is just a stage in the course or in the lifetime of a company. It's the moment where you decide you need to have more efficient access to capital markets, to have a currency to do acquisitions and continue the growth. So IPO was just one option. And when you want to do a trade sale, IPO is always an option.
Yeah.
It's just you just want to say, how do I efficiently get access to capital to accelerate growth? And for Avaloq, we discussed that as well, and we came to the conclusion that to give ourselves into larger organization, a strategic larger organization, is probably the better move.
Yeah.
And we discussed that in the board. And you have all, when you do that step, you also have different stakeholders with different interests. You had Warburg Pincus. Usually, PEs want an exit and have an attractive IRR for their customers.
Of course.
Then you have the founders with their interests, and then you have employees. I had roughly 100 shareholders that were employees. Key talents in the company with their particular interests. So it's a lot of discussion to say, okay, what's the right next move? And for us, that move was the best. This was our conclusion, and I'm proud of what we did there. I think NEC is a fantastic company with a lot of power, muscles. They are technologists. They have technologies that can help Avaloq, and we can help them. Their vision is smart cities. So, and in a smart cities, you of course need financial services, which is one puzzle piece in their strategy. So, it was a good fit, and I love the culture of the Japanese. They are also perfectionists. They walk the talk. They are consistent, honorable. So it's a good culture. I like the Japanese culture. It's quite near to the Swiss culture.
It's a good fit.
Yeah.
You mentioned the 100 employees as shareholders. That's something I find very interesting because the exit was huge here in Switzerland. And at the same time, you also made many of your employees rich. At the same time, in Switzerland, the value of equity for employees is sometimes not that tangible. Often we just say, I want to have a good salary and, that's it.
Yeah.
But in your case, that was a very attractive bet that your employees took. How did you set that up and how did that grow over time?
So there is scientific knowledge that bonus schemes don't work in 21st century tasks. Read Glucksberg, have a look at the video of Daniel Pink, The Puzzle of Motivation on YouTube to get some pointers. They don't work. There is no correlation between bonus schemes and performance. I believe much more in sharing success. I'm not a greedy person. If we are successful, let's share that success amongst the people that were producing and contributing to that success. So I did not believe, or I would never say I made my employees rich. No, we made ourselves successful. And as a result, we happened to become wealthy. So I wanted to make the people not feel like employees, but as what I call intrapreneurs. We together are entrepreneurs shaping the future of this company, serving our customers the best way possible. And if we are successful, we get fairly remunerated for that. This is how I think about it.
I think that's a fantastic perspective because you sort of try to make the pie bigger together
Yes,
and not
of course.
fight who gets what piece.
You might get the smaller piece of the pie, but the pie gets much larger if more people pull the rope in the same direction. And I wanted to have a team of people that dream the same dream with me and are happy to turn it into reality. And if that is successful, let's share the cake.
Of course. And I assume that's also something that in your current projects that you're involved in.
I try to introduce that type of thinking and beliefs everywhere.
And the biggest challenge there is probably how do you split the shares? Who gets how much? How do you do that? Is it more like a timing or risk parameter that defines that, or how do you do that?
At Avaloq, especially in the beginnings, we did not just give you shares for free because I have to put cash in there.
Of course.
Everybody had to put cash in there. So we were buying shares because there's a big difference between all these options and ESOPs and grants that you only have upside potential. If you buy stocks, you have upside and downside potential. You have much more skin in the game. So our limbic system doesn't value losing money the same way as not making the money.
No.
So losing 2 million or not gaining 2 million is not the same in your brain. So
losing is much worse.
It's much more value. This is how our limbic system works. So I'm fond of, having true shareholders. Same rules for everybody.
No.
And then it's up to you as individuals say, okay, how much risk do you want to take?
No.
And very often that correlates with the contribution you make. So the more skin in the game you have, or the more contribution you bring, the more skin in the game you're ready to take.
No.
So in today's world, you have also other alternatives of remunerating people with ESOPs, etc. But it's not the same as being a true co-entrepreneur with skin in the game and cash on the table. I love that model more, but today it's not everywhere accepted.
Yeah.
So you have to also deal and apply other remuneration schemes, but I like alignment of interest by having the, participating in the same outcome and share the success of the company and not give cash bonuses or maximizing your salaries. This is not the type of people I want in my company. These are not the type of people that are successful together as co-entrepreneurs.
No, fully agree. And I think that's a very important statement you just made, to also make startups who might listen to this think, hey, how can I actually get skin in the game from my employees and not just hand out free shares?
Absolutely.
I hope it resonates with them.
Yeah, just stopping thinking employees, let's think partners.
Absolutely. And I gotta ask, when you did this big trade sale to NEC, how did you celebrate? You probably didn't take a break, you didn't take some time off, but how did you celebrate? What did you do with the money that came your way?
To be honest, I didn't celebrate at all.
Nothing.
No.
That's crazy.
Actually, for an entrepreneur, is as much a happy as a sad moment at the same very second.
Yeah.
So it's like, getting a daughter becoming adult, and she gets out of your home. You're happy for her. You release her into adultness and explore the world. You made her fit for purpose to live their own lives, but you also lose something.
Of course.
And it was the same when you exit the company. You win something, you lose something.
How was that emotionally? Because we heard how you tick. You are looking for the next tunnel once you see the light. Was it still an emotional challenge for you to sort of let go of your baby that you built so long?
No, not really, because for me, that's the natural course of life. As your children will grow up, they leave you, but you still have them. And I was preparing for that step over years. As I said, with the first liquidity event with Warburg Pincus, I started creating my next ventures, my next companies, and this was more and more absorbing me. And I still have strong links to Avaloq. I know the old Avaloq crew that left Avaloq. I still know the people that are still in Avaloq, or even new people that are joining Avaloq. I know now the leaders of NEC that are in Avaloq group, and I'm still in the board. I still care. So I didn't drop the pen immediately. So I'm still involved, still talking to customers of Avaloq.
Nice.
Every month, actually. I still have good relationships with all the bankers I served for 30 years. So it's not lost, as you never lose a daughter. You never lose your company you founded.
Amazing.
Never complete. So you still have links.
A natural transition for you as well.
Exactly.
We heard you're now already for quite some time focusing on multiple projects. What are you particularly, excited for the next 5 to 10 years to come?
I have a portfolio of companies, roughly 10 companies, and it's like having 10 children. You cannot really decide which one you love most. You love all of them. They are in different maturity stages. Some might already scratch the billion valuation. Some are very early stage, just 2 years. And the fun of it is also that the stair of success is not an automatic escalator. It's a bumpy road, and that's also the fun of it, being able to help whenever the problems arrive. So in different maturity stages, you have a new intellectual problem setting, and then you try to dive in and try to help them solve it. And with 10 companies, you have 10 times more problems to solve, and that's what I love. As an engineer, you're born as a problem solver.
Of course, it's in your DNA.
We are here to solve problems. Engineers solve problems.
Absolutely. And Francisco, to wrap up the conversation today, I also have some rapid fire questions for you. I gave you different options to choose from, or a quick question you have to answer in one sentence. Let's go. Engineer or entrepreneur?
Today, entrepreneur.
Okay. What does money mean to you?
It gives you optionality and entrepreneurial freedom.
Have you ever thought about giving up on Avaloq along the journey?
No, never.
Are you more of an early bird or a night owl?
Definitely night owl.
And what's your most cherished Avaloq memory? I know you have many, but if you just have to pick one.
That is difficult. Probably getting the central bank life in time.
Nice. That was a big one. Founder or investor?
Founder.
And is there anything you would do differently if you could build Avaloq all over again?
Different times have different means and tools and options. If you start Avaloq today, of course, you would do many things different.
Right.
We have the internet, you have AI, you have blockchain technologies, which you didn't have 30 years ago. So, of course, you would reinvent Avaloq with today's tools. But the essence of how to drive a company, how to lead people, how to execute vision, these fundamentals are the same, and that's why I can apply today to different companies in different industry sectors. So that will remain the same, but you start using the tools of your time. So fundamentally, I would not do much different. Let's pick out one thing.
Okay.
Today, I will go immediately B2C and not B2B.
Okay. Why is that?
To convince large organizations, in this case, large banks, managers of large banks, it feels like a fight against windmills. You know exactly what they need, but it's hard to convince them because they don't decide rationale. Very often not even for the benefits of the bank, but the benefits of their career, whatever. So it's a complex sale, which is not just rational. An end customer is much more rational. You bring a new product, he looks at the product, is that good for me? I buy.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And the management of a large organization cannot take decisions so rational. It's about the people, it's about the customers, it's about the reputation, it's about your bonus, it's about where are you in your career. So you have to satisfy multiple stakeholders, the board, the executives, the individuals, probably the chief IT guy is against you because he fears that you take away his job or whatever. So it's a complex decision making instead of just a value-based, rational decision making. So that's why I would go B2C. I would tell the banks, look, I prove with your customer that I create value. Now you can have the same technology, be with me. But if not, I don't care. I would just go after new customers.
Of course.
This is how I would. So today I would create first a neobank, and then use my own SaaS system, but also give my competitors the same technology if they wish so.
Amazing. I love that. And the last one, that's going to be a difficult one for you because it's two of your biggest hobbies. If you had to choose piano or cars?
Piano.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Easy choice.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Francisco, if anyone wants to reach out to you, to say, hey, I have a great deal for you, or I'm so inspired by what you said, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
You find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me here today. It was a pleasure. Really
here.
impressive, and you're a real role model for the Swiss ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.